7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final episode of Inside Pacer Nation for the season. I'm Marcus Johnson, joined once again by Brent Hager. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
It's always good to have you. As Jordan is still out with doing whatever he's doing, he's a busy man.
That he is, but he will be back some next year.
Yeah, man. While we wait for next year, let's go ahead and recap this year. And sadly, baseball season comes to an end on a bad note with a loss in the regional championships.
As you know, we have 7 teams in the regional, so 6 teams are going to lose in the region. But I'm a little bit biased, but I think that our team fought harder than anybody else that was out there.
They did, and nothing shows that more than the first game in which they got a little bit of payback on Georgia College in the first game of the regional tournament. They were down in the 9th inning, and they scored a few runs. I remember texting you saying, I cannot believe that they came back.
I'd already started writing my release, being a little bit upset about it, but down 5-3, and Dalton Weeks blasted a 2-run home run, and it was very similar to the Nova Southeastern comeback win, where they didn't get an out, and yet they were scoring runs, and you're like, this is going to be a good thing for us. And I believe it was Luke Westerberg with the walk-off hit. Yeah. And, just absolutely phenomenal time. And I was sitting there with the Georgia College athletic director at the time talking about it. He just shook his head. He's like, I can't really say much about it. And, he was saying that he thought that Georgia College was going to lose. And I was like, at that point, I really wasn't sure what to think. Where we had been handcuffed at the plate all day long, basically, but had a great 9th inning. Yeah,
the bats just came alive at the right time. And, you can't say much else other than that. It's just timely hitting.
Absolutely. And an impressive job by Yobi coming out of the bullpen to pick up the win after Joey Benitez was actually chased from the game. Later in the game, it wasn't like he had give up a 6-run first inning or anything like that. But you're used to Joey Benitez pitching the whole game or 8 innings, and wasn't the case, though.
Yeah, well, I wonder if maybe he just ran out of steam for the season. He had been pitching a lot and setting multiple school records or tied them throughout the year, including in this regional championship. It was in a loss, I believe. He set the single-season strikeout record.
It was after losing to North Georgia, it came back and ended up playing in the losers bracket game, and which turned out to be the last game of the season against Catawba. But he came out of the bullpen after 2 days of rest and threw, I believe, 2 1/3 innings and struck out 5 batters and got the school record at that point. And, he was just like, in the post-game press conference, saying, if I don't pitch and if we don't win, we don't get to play tomorrow. So we have all season to rest. And so why not go back out there? And you love that mentality from a pitcher.
You see that a lot, especially in postseason play. I know in the majors, especially in a Game 7, they're going to send everybody out there, the starters, the relievers, everybody that you can send out, you'll send out because it's do or die. And that's basically the situation that they were in there.
Yeah. And, it was a very tough regional. The number 1 seed, which was number 1 nationally in a couple polls, Mount Olive got knocked out by Catawba, who knocked us out. But we had beaten a couple weeks before here at Roberto Hernandez Stadium. Just a tough setup, and they're going to look at that, I believe, this year. But we played North Georgia in the second game of the tournament, and the game before us went 13 innings. And so instead of starting at 7, we're starting at 9 o'clock, not getting done until 12:30. Because of some issues, we ended up having to travel an hour back to our hotel, and then get up the next morning after about 5 hours resting, get back on the bus, and come back and play game 2, another game, which is an elimination game. And just a tough situation because Catawba, who we lost to, had a day off after they lost the first game. They had off the second day, and came back and played us the third day of the tournament, and we played 3 straight days. And it's tough, but I give our kids a lot of credit for adversity, all tournament long with things like that, and performed absolutely tremendous, I thought.
For running on fumes, they didn't perform too badly. In that kind of situation, the only thing you can really say is let's just go out there and do the best that we can, and maybe we'll come through with a win.
And, it looked good. Catawba played well enough to win. They beat us that day. Congratulations to them. And it wasn't like that we gave them a win. They earned it, and, we fought hard, and that's all you can say.
Catawba's a good team. I remember watching them in that final game of the season, and they played well, and Pacers came away with a win, but Catawba, they got the last laugh in the tournament, I guess you could say.
Right. And, then you saw North Georgia go to the NCAA tournament and to the World Series. So, it was a thing where you had 3 or 4 of the best teams in the nation fighting out of one region, and that's always tough. But what a heck of a tournament!
Tough and exciting, and I mean that's what you get when you play baseball down in the South. It tends to be very exciting. I know from experience, Northern baseball and Southern baseball are completely different monsters.
And going to Mount Olive, that was the first time I'd ever traveled to their school. It was a nice little place out in the middle of almost nowhere. It felt like. They had a restaurant over there that, had a chance to eat a 55-ounce hamburger. If you could do it in 30 minutes or less, you get it for free. I decided not to try it. But if I ever get back, I might end up doing that.
If I wasn't kind of working on a stricter diet, I may have had to try that myself. But
great hospitality over there. The people at Mount Olive were great. And you couldn't ask. The fans were tremendous. You just couldn't ask for a better place outside of here to host a regional. I mean, just great people over there.
So. Baseball sadly comes to an end, but as usual, it was a competitive year, and we look forward to next year being just as competitive, if not even better.
Right, and you see, postseason awards are coming out right now with regional awards and actually All-America honors, and Luke Westerberg picked up D2 CCA all-region accolades, and so did Mitchell Price. Mitchell Price was on 2 of the groups so far, and Joey Benitez. What can you say about him?
I mean, if he wasn't an All-American, I'd have to storm the NCAA headquarters or wherever I could go to complain and just say, who decided this? I mean, the guy just had a phenomenal season. Is definitely going to go in the MLB draft. Where he goes is going to depend on who's drafting.
He's one of those guys that I think a team like Oakland always goes for people that maybe are a little bit off the radar. He's not the 6'4", pitcher. He's 5'10". And, lefty with not a ton of speed. He's got enough speed, but almost like a Jamie Moyer, where you could see him pitching for 20 years. I mean, that's just the type of person I see Joey Benitez as.
He's got I know from watching him, he's got a very relaxed delivery and a relaxed pickoff move, for one. But, yeah, he doesn't seem to put too much stress on his body. He's got a nice little slider there that it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it gets the job done. And, it doesn't look like he's going to blow out his arm, knock on wood, but he could pitch for a few years in the big leagues if he really puts his mind to it.
Right, and it's all about being in the right team in the right situation, and that's the way it is for 90% of these players. And if they get to that, the right team, they're going to be sitting there for a few years, and hopefully that's the case with him and possibly like a Mitchell Price or someone like that. We don't know who's going to be drafted here in a couple of weeks, but I think that some of these kids are going to have an opportunity to play for another year or two.
Yeah. Benitez, if 99.9% sure he's going to be drafted. Price has got a good chance of going, mainly because he's not a pitcher. It may not be as high because pitchers tend to have a better chance of getting drafted and making it to the big leagues. But Price has got some speed and he's got timely hitting. But one guy I want to look at for next year, if possibly being drafted, is Bonilla. He's got good contact, he's got great speed, and he's a pretty darn good fielder.
Yeah, and actually he had one of the strangest plays and most impressive plays I've ever seen in baseball at the regional, where he was at bat against North Georgia, hits a pitch, and it's probably bounces about 5 or 6 feet in front of him, bounces towards the shortstop, and takes a weird hop over top the shortstop into the outfield. By the time the center fielder gets the ball, he's on second base. You don't see something like that where it hits literally 5 feet in front of you and the runner ends up on second base without an error. And we were like, "Holy cow! Look at this guy run!" And
he's fast. Again, let's see him go into a foot race against Brielle Youngblood and Leah Bogosian. Why not?
And I mean, he finished the year, I believe, at 399. So I mean, just under 400. And he's one that I think was overlooked this year because of the Mitchell Price with his home runs and all, but. Jose Bonilla was one that set the table for a lot of what USA can do this year. Oh,
yeah. When Jordan and I would cover the games, we'd always say the key to any success you can have is put Bonilla on and then drive him home with Mitchell Price.
Right.
I mean, Price would have maybe, I'd say probably 10 to 15 less RBIs if it wasn't for having Bonilla on base, because he'd drive him in with a home run or a nice solid base hit.
Right.
And Bonilla had a lot to do with that offense.
Right. And the offense is going to take a little bit of a hit next year, possibly with 15 seniors that are going to be gone from this team. Some of them are pitchers, some are playing the field, but that's a lot of people to replace for Coach Thomas. And I believe it's the most in his tenure that he's had 15 people that were seniors that won't be back next year.
Yeah, so they may have a little bit of a hiccup next year, but Yeah, they still got some good they got some good talent out there, some really good young pitching out there in the freshman Ard and Spence, yeah. And Brian Pereira came through as a catcher this year, which I was kind of shocked at. I thought he's a great first baseman. Turns out he's a pretty good catcher too, so don't have to worry too much about their catching position or even first base if they got to put him out there.
Right.
And yeah, they just look like they may have it there. They're pretty well set.
And you bring back Connor Durden, who was sick for a little bit of the season after starting the year, and we're like, who the heck is this guy? After coming in and hitting so well for the first month of the season, then he was pretty much out of the lineup after that part. But with him back in the lineup, you're going to have some great players back next year, and the schedule will probably be favorable. I've heard. I don't know officially, but I think we start off with 3 straight home weekends to start the year, which wouldn't surprise me one bit.
No, not at all.
We do that, and I mean, that's going to help these kids play in front of a decent-sized crowd the first few weeks. And you never know what can happen after that point. I mean, if they have their confidence up, they could do better than what people think. But a 41 season like this year is not out of the question at all for next year. I mean, he's got players every single year. He finds a way to get them to win.
Yeah, and we'll see what they do next year. Maybe they can take another step further, win the region, win the conference, something. Be nice to have another little championship for baseball, but time will tell.
I mean, and you're talking about how many players we're losing, but how many players are coming back. But look at golf, where we have everyone basically is coming back next year that started this year, and you got a couple kids that are all region, all conference, and winning the conference this year. You're gonna have a upperclassmen loaded team next year, and this is a year that I think that the USDA can make a run in the golf championships.
Yeah, I mean they won the conference this year,
and just a couple strokes away from making the nationals this year. And if you're so close as sophomores and juniors and freshmen, what can you do the next year? You can only get better, you would think.
Yeah, that's usually the case, and hopefully that will be the case for the golf team. It'd be nice to put a 4th national championship trophy out there in that trophy case. I know you're really wanting one.
I am. I've been fortunate enough to work with 4 national champions that were individual national champions. I've done everything in college sports except for work with the team national champion. So that's all I'm missing.
That's on your bucket list.
It is.
I mean, you definitely have a chance here.
I came to the right place for something like that to happen, I think.
Indeed, yep. But another team that could have a national championship run, we're moving on into fall sports, kind of give a little preview for that, but volleyball had a great year this year, won the Southeast region. They come back, they're still loaded with talent and bringing in some more from what I hear from the coaches, saying they're bringing in some really good freshmen from several different good high schools, and we'll see what they can do this year.
And I'm excited a little bit about one of the freshmen, Anna Crockett, who was at the AAU National Championships last year, which our team won. She was the MVP, and to be the MVP of AAU National Championships, pretty impressive. And she's about 5'11" or so. If she's 6'1", she's probably at a pretty big time Division I school.
I was about to say, yeah.
It's crazy how those couple inches will be such a difference. But with her coming back, and then you do have Emily Telon coming back in as the setter of the year, and all region. You lose Danielle Mercer, but you do have Rebecca Martinez coming through, and she looked phenomenal in the spring. She was all over the place, and I've never seen someone that aggressive like that.
Yeah, actually, before I came in here, I was actually talking with a couple volleyball players that I work with at my other job, and they were saying when they would watch the matches that they said that Danielle was good, but they think Martinez may be even better. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's going to be tough. Mercer setting the single season digs record. It's a pretty big shoes to fill if you're Rebecca Martinez, but we'll see how she does.
And I talked to her about a week ago via text, and she was saying that she's looking forward to not only the single season record, but she wants the career record, and she's already figured out what she needs each year to do that. And that's a kid that can set goals and go get them. And so I think that's within reach here.
She has 3 years as the libero, and she's got a good shot at it.
She does, but she's going to be challenged too. That Glenn's the team last year led the nation in digs. The year before, they were first in the nation in digs per set. They are a defensive team. And it's funny to say it because how explosive the offense is with the middles like Christine Carroll, and you have the outsides and everything. But defensively, they're second to none, and they're going to bring in some tough talent enough. And I'm excited about some of the kids that are coming in to play those positions.
They tend to, one of the things I've noticed is not a lot of course, this tends to be the theme with most D2 schools, but the players aren't very big. But because they're short, they're able to get down close to the floor and make those beautiful digs that I was so fortunate to watch last year.
Right, and you'll see it like a Division I level. Someone like Julia Forster, her height is playing libero, and which is about 5, say like 5'9", 5'10",
something like that. Yeah.
And here 5'4", 5'3", maybe 5'5" at most usually, but there's a big difference there. And our kids have been fortunate enough they are able to read the attacks very well, and so before the person even starts to hit the ball, they're running to the spot where they know it's going to be hit because they can just read the offensive player, and that's really what you need.
And that was one of the big keys to success. I can tell you right now, just watching them, they would be sitting there in position, ready to go before they even got up to hit the ball. Right. I mean, they just did a phenomenal job with that. And like you were saying, some players to watch, Christine Carroll coming back, a freshman who, if she doesn't make an All-American by the time she graduates from here, I'll be shocked.
As long as she keeps progressing like she can and keeps working hard, absolutely. One person I think that's going to have an impact this year that maybe took a backseat a little bit last year was Alicia Hines. And that's only because Cassie Johansson came over from basketball and had a phenomenal season, and Christine had a major impact. But 2 years ago, Alicia Hines leads the conference in hitting percentage. You come back, that person back as a senior, and a little bit more playing time, it's going to be impressive to see what she does.
And she came in for Taylor Stratton when she went down with an injury, I believe. And it wasn't Hines. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Never mind.
Yeah, no, but
my mistake.
But she came in and played well last year. And as good as Alicia is, it was just tough to overcome someone like Cassie, who just has a natural ability to block shots, and she did it on the basketball court as the school's all-time career leader. And for the volleyball team, I mean, she just had that gut instinct, which you don't see all the time. But I think Alicia can play really well. And Jules this year is going for 1,000 kills, Julia Forrester. Only about 170 away, which she should get,
she'll get that
after maybe about 10 games. And you've got a loaded team, from top to bottom. And with the newcomers, they do have a chance to make another run. It's going to be a tough region, though, with volleyball with, Flagler took a couple players from Armstrong. Queens is going to be really good. Wingett's going to be phenomenal. And then us, I think those 4 teams, you could throw 4 names in a hat and pick a team, and that could be your region champion.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it's going to come down to who hosts the regional tournament. Mm-hmm. If the Pacers host it, there's a really good chance that they will repeat as region champions. If not, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But again, if they play at home, they'll do really well, especially against Flagler. They tend to have some trouble on the road against Flagler, but at home they're a bit more sound.
Right, and all these schedules are going to come out within about 2 weeks from now. We're going to start releasing the fall sports schedules with women's soccer, men's soccer, cross country, which actually gets the first home meet in 2 years after not being able to race at home last year because of the hurricane.
Even though you said it was 90 degrees and sunny.
It was. But I mean, just probably just in this area there. I mean, the hurricane was horrible at other places, but in South it was fine last year. But men's soccer, women's soccer, cross country, volleyball releases are going to come. The schedule releases are going to come out in about 2 weeks from now, starting to come out. Along with, we've already got women's basketball schedule, so that'll be out in about 2.5 weeks. After that, about late June, early July, we're going to start the What to Watch for, which we kind of just mentioned a little bit.
An informal version of it.
Absolutely, on pitchsports.com. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the people that are going to step up next year for the fall sports. You look at men's soccer, Jordan Masseri, if he's healthy this coming year, and he's one of the best players to have ever stepped in to a Pacer uniform, but he's been injured a little bit the past couple of years. But when he's on the field, you can't take your eyes off him because he's so talented, along with Andre Simon and Roberto Biandicho. And Coach Afoji's going to have a tremendous amount of newcomers that come in and make an impact immediately, just like women's soccer. I mean, she's talked about her incoming class with about 12 people, including the Olsen twins, are coming to town. So, I mean, she's talked highly about them, but they have, I think, about 10 seniors on the team too. So that's going to be a great mix this year. And we start everything early. We start August 31st at home. We have soccer.
Yeah, so you don't have much of a break. I don't have much of a break, and I'm actually okay with that. I kind of like going right back into the swing of things. I miss calling the sports, and I'd rather not work at a pool.
Right. And I mean, we're going to have fun. I'll go ahead and give everyone a brief, example. Opening weekend, volleyball is away at one of the toughest tournaments they've ever experienced down in West Florida at Pensacola. But at home, we have women's soccer starts off the year on the 31st, men's soccer the 1st, doubleheader on the 2nd, and then on Labor Day, we have a doubleheader as well. So, I mean, you're talking about, 6 matches to open the season, when the school's getting back, and a great time to come here and watch. I mean, college football's going to be going on at other schools, but why not come here and watch some great sports going on and be able to get to see your teams at the start of the gate.
You may have to take some tips from the coaches on recruiting. You may have to recruit a few more interns from the communications classes this year to fill in all those different sports.
Well, I'm thankful that, we do have a couple people that have graduated to help out, but along with Sydney Kate Murphy, who's helped call soccer last year, is going to be back to help with that. And, we're going to do some fun things on patriotsports.com this year, which I don't really want to share right now. But
don't want to spoil the surprise.
No, but there's going to be some upgrades to some of the stuff that we've done this past year for social media wise and story wise. Everything else is we're taking it to the next step, just like our teams are trying to do. We want to take the next step and be even better, and that's what our fans want. So that's what we're going to give them.
All right, and I look forward to it. I look forward to being a part of that, and also experiencing that as a viewer, which I'm both.
And so we're talking about starting back our podcast, Inside Pacer Nation, about the week of Labor Day?
Yeah, something like that. Just that way we have a few of the sports already underway and we can kind of look at how things are going early on in the season, maybe make some predictions or whatnot. That way we're not basically repeating the last show of this season.
I mean, all the fans would love to hear this same thing again.
Oh, of course they would. But it's whatever. Right. It's whatever it is.
Right.
But that should do it here from inside the Convocation Center at the University of South Carolina, Aiken. I'm Marcus Johnson, and for Brent Hager, thank you for joining us on this final episode, and have a good one.